All right, joining us now, my good friend Jenny Fuentes. I catch up with you every year at the NFL Combine with Sports Illustrated. Love reading her stuff. Check it out. It's amazing. Jenny, let's talk about the AFC South because we saw two teams go to the playoffs last year, the Titans and the Texans. What are your predictions for 2020 and how this division is going to shake out?
Well, I think it always comes down to who's leading the team at the quarterback position. And I think with Deshaun Watson, we saw the way he willed the team through that playoff run, making plays out of nothing. And I think when you have a quarterback like Deshaun Watson, it's hard for the Texans not to be the favorite in the AFC South.
Really, it's been two teams in the playoffs, maybe 3 out of the last 4 years. And if you remember back maybe even 5 years ago, the AFC South was kind of the butt of a lot of NFL jokes out there. They're the Thursday night showcase game between two teams that are in their color rush uniforms, and that was the only draw to the division. Now you look at it, they're consistently putting two teams in the playoffs every year, and Texans, of course, leading the way in that regard. And I think the Texans are positioning themselves, obviously with Deshaun Watson and the young core that they have, to be in that running for a long years to come.
It's tough. I think the great thing about the division, you have great quarterback play, and quarterback play kind of determines what is going to happen. So when you think about Deshaun Watson, you think about Ryan Tannehill, I'm sure he'll be back there. And then Indianapolis have to make a decision, but ultimately the success is driven by the quarterback. And so if you're the Houston Texans, you feel good about where you are. Certainly you have to do a couple things to tweak the team, but the division is going to go as the quarterback play goes.
We don't know who the quarterback of the Titans is going to be, which is a really weird situation to be in. Maybe it's Tannehill coming back. Maybe it's Tom Brady. I know Phillip Rivers has had his eye on that place. And so, the Titans had a great year. Got to the AFC Championship game. Mike Vrabel proved who he is as a coach. Arthur Smith, a really good first-year offensive coordinator. They're built strong on the lines of scrimmage. But, you look at it, who's the quarterback going to be? Is Derrick Henry going to be back? So there are certainly some questions there. The Texans, I think you hope, if you're in Houston, that the offensive line comes together to say the way Indianapolis' offensive line came together. We don't know who the Colts quarterback's going to be. And so, that's what's so unique about it to me is that all three teams at the top of the division, taking the Jaguars out of it, it looks to me like each of those teams, has a chance to significantly improve their standing. And two of the three teams, they don't even know who their quarterback's going to be.
All right, under Bill O'Brien, the Texans have been able to clinch the division. They've been able to win that wild card game, but they can't get past the divisional round, or they haven't yet in history. So what is it going to take to get the Texans to the next level?
I think when you get into the playoffs, the thing that separates you, your defense. Can your defense get takeaways? Can they limit scoring opportunities? Can they give the quarterback the ball back a number of times? That is the thing that kind of separates them. And as they get older on the front line, can they find some young, explosive playmakers that can create disruptive plays? When they do that, they win games. I think it really comes down to that part of it. Can their defense kind of become a top 10 defense, and that'll push them over the top?
I think if maybe find that consistent edge on defense. And I think, obviously J.J. Watt's injury didn't help. And of course, getting him back for the playoffs was a big boost, maybe emotionally more than anything else. But I think to have that consistency, and they've been bit by the injury bug. And I think it's no fault to them that they haven't had that consistency maybe on the back end, with the secondary kind of turning over the last few years the way it has, either by Tyrann Mathieu leaving in free agency or just guys getting older and moving on in different ways. But if they can do that and fortify that unit for a consistent 16-week run and then do it in the playoffs, I think that's where you'll see them take that next step and really be contenders for that Super Bowl run.
I think this offseason, focusing on upgrades on the defensive side of the ball would be really important, especially cornerback position. I feel like those are the kinds of things, if you can get some more players in those key spots, that could help be the difference in the playoffs.
They're getting better at key spots on defense. It looks like the offense is in really good shape and close to where they need it to be now. Maybe they could use another back, but other than that, they've got the receivers. The offensive line, I think, should be a lot better. And I think they believe internally with Laramie Tunsil and Titus Howard and Max Sharping, they've really sort of fixed that area. So to me, it's finding difference makers on defense. You lost your Devian Clowney. Your secondary has gotten old. And so, I think it's, finding, maybe another piece that can make a difference in your front seven. And then really finding a way to fix the cornerback position once and for all, which we know they tried to do last year and bringing in guys in midseason like Vernon Hargraves and Gary Connolly.
Let's talk about Deshaun Watson because he always makes some exciting plays on the field. When you look back at maybe his 2019 season or even before, is there any play that really stands out to you that you think is your favorite?
I'm sure it's one that everybody talks about. It's the playoff one. Obviously we've seen Deshaun over the years, even going all the way back to his days at Clemson, make time after time again those plays in the clutch moments. But to do it at the NFL level in the postseason for the first time to win a game. It was almost like, if you remember a couple years ago when DeAndre Hopkins made that spin move against the Cowboys in overtime to win a game on Sunday Night Football, big moment, and Deshaun, of course, having his moment in the playoffs. And I think we can expect that for the foreseeable future. Obviously, with Patrick Mahomes and him in the AFC, Lamar Jackson now emerging this year, they'll have control of that conference, I think, for the next 10, 15 years.
I think it was at the end of that Bills playoff game where he eluded all of the different rushers, all of the defenders coming at him, and he was able to make a play to get the team in position for the winning field goal. I think that is kind of what you've come to expect out of him, where he can make something out of nothing. You can only kind of contain him for so long, and he'll figure out how to conjure up some magic. And I think that special ability is always, what the Texans really thrive off of.
It's so funny because having known Deshaun since he goes all the way back, like high school, and watched him in college, I think the thing that stands out to me about him is just how good he is with the ball in his hand when the game is on the line. I think the thing that you love about him is his resiliency, his ability to kind of step up and make plays. So I can't point out a single play, but what I would say is a series of these improvisational plays where he finds a way to advance the ball and get a first down or make touchdowns or deliver these explosive plays. To me, that is the difference between a good quarterback and a great quarterback. Can you make the most out of a bad situation? He can do that repeatedly.
Everything I think that you'd hope Deshaun Watson would become as a quarterback, he's starting to become. And, now they're in a position where, like Kansas City, they can give him a new contract. So that part of it's going to be interesting. I really think it's going to be what I'm intrigued to see is what he looks like with a fixed offensive line. And, we've seen over the last 3 years, he's been able to sort of mask some of the issues they've had up there. And I really think the best way to equate it is you look at sort of what, again, Indianapolis did. And they were able to go and get Quentin Nelson and get Braden Smith. And the offensive line going into 2018 became a huge strength for them. And they got into the playoffs after having been down for a couple years. And the Texans did the same thing, in getting Laramie Tunsil, getting Titus Howard, getting Max Sharping. It looks to me like that's a team, re-signing Nick Martin, it looks to me like that's a team that could be a lot different offensively because of that group. And, I know it's boring for people don't want to hear about offensive linemen, but if you look at a commonality of the teams over the last couple of years that have gotten into the championship round, that have been in the AFC or NFC championship game, almost all of them have deep investment in the offensive line. The Texans have done that over the last year.
All right, let's talk about J.J. Watt, year 10. How surprised are you by what he's been able to do?
I'm not surprised, obviously, because his ability speaks for itself. His relentlessness to come back after these major injuries, and he's done it time and time again, not only this year, but he's done it in years past. And for him to come back and still to play as one of the best players in the NFL, certainly one of the best defenders in the NFL, just speaks to his work ethic, his character, and everything else that you've seen him up close there in the Houston community for everything he does, not only on the field, but off the field as well. And it's a reflective of the leadership that he brings to the defensive unit. And I think they sorely missed him down the stretch, maybe even for the leadership first and foremost down the stretch there in defense. So J.J. Watt going in now, class of 2011, the historic class that it was, him one of the signature pieces of that draft class. I look forward to seeing what he has left in store. And now to see his brothers kind of taking their stage in prominence in the NFL, specifically TJ, and of course Derek playing well with the Chargers. It's exciting to see the Watt family continue to grow in the NFL.
He's been the heartbeat of that team and that franchise for a long time, and just being able to get back for the playoff game, I think gave that team a boost. And look, I don't need to tell you, the sort of impact that he's had on that franchise over the last decade, and so it's hard to believe that this is going to be his 10th year in the NFL. I think, you've got the obvious health concerns. He's had trouble in that area over the last 5 years. But still a guy who's capable of playing at a really, really high level. And beyond just that, having 10 years in the bank now, sort of become the elder statesman for your organization, which, again, it makes me feel old to say that. I can't believe he's been in the league 10 years.
That was pretty remarkable when he came back, just the impact that it had on the team and the crowd. You could see just kind of how much he's given to the city and to the franchise. And, of course, at this point in his career, I think there's probably one last thing he would like to bring to the franchise, which would be a championship. But, yeah, I think that game really encapsulated just how hard he works and just what he means to the team.
Well, obviously, he's one of the best players that we've seen play the position in the league. You talk about a 3-time Defensive Player of the Year award winner. He makes a difference, and even when he's not fully healthy, we saw the impact that he can make. So not only the playmaking ability that he brings, but the leadership. They play different. There's a comfort level, there's a confidence that he brings. So whenever 99 is on the field, it changes the way the Texans play. They need to continue to get great effort from him because he raises the level of everyone else around him.
All right, good stuff, Bucky. Thank you so much. We look forward to seeing you on NFL Network.
Cool. Thanks so much.
Thanks for watching. Subscribe to our channel and ring the bell to know when we post new content.